This is Jesus,
Heyo!
who is the Son of God and the Savior of the world. While Jesus was on earth, he taught everyone about God's love and healed people from their sickness. He did many miracles like walking on water
Oh, hey guys.
and even raised people from the dead.
Wahoo!
One day, after preaching to a crowd of people, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's cross to the other side of the lake."
You got it.
So they got into a boat and started out. Other boats followed him too. And as they sailed across, Jesus fell asleep.
Uh-oh.
But soon a fierce storm came down on the lake. The boat was filling with water and they were in real danger. The disciples went and woke Jesus up, shouting,
Hey, Jesus, wake up!
"Save us! We are going to drown! Don't you care if we drown?" Jesus responded, "Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." Then he got up and rebuked the wind and waves, saying,
Shush, shush.
"Silence, be still." Suddenly the wind stopped and there was a great calm. Then he asked them, "Where is your faith?" The disciples were terrified and amazed. "Who is this man?" they asked each other. When he gives a command, even the wind and waves obey him.
So I think many of us hear a story like that and think, why were the disciples so scared when they had Jesus in the boat? I mean, they had seen Jesus heal sicknesses and feed thousands of people with only a few fish sandwiches. And later, they'd even see Jesus walk on the water. Why would you be afraid of a storm when you have the God of the universe who created water and weather and storms with you? Well, first, I think you have to understand how big this storm was. An early follower of Jesus named Mark wrote a biography of Jesus by learning the stories of Jesus' life by talking to the people closest to him. And this is how the guys in the boat described this storm to Mark. But soon a fierce storm came up. High waves were breaking into the boat and it began to fill with water. Now, many of these guys in the boat were fishermen, so they had spent many days and many nights in boats on the water. So they'd probably seen a storm or two, but this one was so bad that the waves had gotten so high that water was filling into this big boat, which means they probably were getting close to sinking. And even though they were on a lake, it isn't like the lake you go fishing on with your grandpappy. I've never used that word before in my life. Anyway, this lake was so huge that if the boat sank, they couldn't swim to safety. And these seasoned fishermen knew this storm was too much for them to handle. Now I want you to think for a moment. Have you ever faced any storms in your life that were too much for you to handle? And I'm not talking about tests that were too hard. I'm talking about times when someone you loved was sick and you didn't know if they were going to make it. I'm talking about times when your best friend stabbed you in the back. I'm talking about when your parents got a divorce and you didn't know what was next for your family. I'm talking about things you've gone through that felt too much for you to handle. Let me ask you, in those moments, did you feel the kind of fear and worry that the disciples probably felt in that boat? You see, many of us believe that the Bible tells us that God won't give us more than we can handle. But guess what? That's not in there. The Bible never says that. And once you live long enough, you know that's not true. Because there are things we all go through in life that we can't handle on our own. It's too much for us. It feels like a storm that's going to sink our lives, and we don't know how we're going to make it. In those moments, there's nothing we can do on our own. We truly do need God's help. We, like the disciples, have to remember we've got Jesus in the boat. The God of the universe is always with us, and when there are things that are too big for us to handle, He can handle them. No matter how big the problem we face is, God is bigger, and He's on our side. So talk in your groups about how we can turn to God when our problems are too big for us to handle.